Hi everyone, I'm KC. Hey everyone, and welcome. So glad you're joining me today. I'm really excited because we're diving into a book that has completely changed the way I approach, well, just about everything. We're talking about Atomic Habits by James Clear. Honestly, I used to be the queen of grand, sweeping resolutions. New year, new me, right? But by February, I'd be back to square one, feeling defeated and wondering why I just couldn't stick to anything. Sound familiar? That's where this book came in, and honestly, it was a game changer. Atomic Habits isn't about overnight transformations or these huge, unrealistic goals. It's about understanding that tiny, almost ridiculously small, changes can lead to massive results down the road. We're talking about getting that 1% edge. That slight improvement that, over time, compounds into something truly incredible. Over the next little while, we're going to break down the core principles of the book. We'll explore why focusing on these tiny changes is so powerful. I'll share a personal story about how this changed the way I exercise, or didn't exercise, really, and how this approach got me back on track. Then, we're going to dive into the practical stuff. We'll look at how to actually build these good habits, and, just as importantly, how to break those bad ones that are holding us back. We'll talk about how to design your environment to make good habits easier and bad habits harder, all based on some super simple and effective strategies. And finally, we'll explore how to actually stick with these habits long term. Because, let's be real, starting is the easy part, right? It's the consistency that trips us up. So, we'll cover some smart techniques to keep yourself motivated and on track even when life gets busy, and let's face it, it always does. So, whether you're trying to improve your health, your productivity, your relationships, or just about anything else, I think you're going to find some really valuable insights here. Get ready to unlock that 1% edge. Let's get started. Okay, so we're talking about the power of tiny changes, right? And how those little 1% improvements can really add up. But I think it's important to understand why this works so well. It's not just some motivational fluff, there's actually some pretty cool psychology at play here. One of the most important things to understand is this concept that James Clear calls the Plateau of Latent Potential. Think of it like this: you're putting in the work, you're making those small changes, but you're not seeing any immediate results. You're stuck in what feels like the valley of disappointment. You're going to the gym, but the scale isn't budging. You're practicing your Spanish every day, but you still stumble over basic phrases. It can be incredibly frustrating, right? It feels like all that effort is going nowhere. But here's the thing, those small improvements are actually accumulating beneath the surface. They're building momentum, laying the groundwork for something bigger. It's like heating up a block of ice. You can pump heat into that ice for a long time and not see any change. The temperature rises gradually, almost imperceptibly. Then, suddenly, it melts. All that latent potential, all that stored energy, finally releases. That's what happens with habits. You might not see results immediately, but if you keep at it, you'll eventually reach a critical threshold where everything seems to click. That's when you break through the plateau and see that exponential growth we've been talking about. I remember when I was trying to get better at writing. I would write every single day, even if it was just for 15 minutes. And honestly, for weeks, I didn't feel like I was improving at all. My writing still felt clunky and awkward. I was getting discouraged. But I kept showing up, kept putting in those small, consistent efforts. Then, one day, it was like something just clicked. The words started flowing more easily, my sentences became more polished, and I actually started enjoying the process. It was that plateau of latent potential finally giving way. So, the key is to not get discouraged during those periods where you don't see immediate results. Trust the process. Know that those small improvements are accumulating, and that eventually you'll break through. Building on that idea of unseen potential, let's consider the opposite, the negative side. It's really important to understand that this compounding effect works both ways. Just as small positive habits can lead to remarkable success, small negative habits can lead to significant decline. Think about it like this. Let's say you start skipping your workouts just once a week. Sounds harmless, right? It's just one day, you tell yourself, but that one missed workout can easily turn into 2, then 3, and before you know it, you're completely off track. Or maybe you start indulging in that extra sugary drink every day. Again, it seems like a small thing, but over time, that extra sugar can lead to weight gain, energy crashes, and even more serious health problems. James Clear uses a great analogy. He compares habits to compound interest. Good habits are like investing wisely. They yield positive returns over time. Bad habits, on the other hand, are like debt. They accumulate and can quickly spiral out of control. A credit card that you only occasionally overspend on seems manageable, but those small charges and interest really do add up in the end. This is why it's so important to be mindful of those seemingly insignificant choices we make every day. Because those small choices, repeated over time, are what ultimately shape our lives. They determine whether we're moving towards our goals or away from them. So, good habits make time your ally. Bad habits make time your enemy. I think one of the best examples of this concept, the idea of compounding gains, comes from the world of competitive cycling. There's a story about the British cycling team, which for a long time was pretty mediocre. They hadn't won a single Olympic gold medal in almost a century. Then, they brought in a new coach named Dave Brailsford, who introduced a philosophy he called the aggregation of marginal gains. His approach was simple. He focused on improving every single aspect of the team's performance by just 1%. Not just the obvious things like their training regimen and diet, but also the seemingly insignificant details. They redesigned their bike seats to make them more comfortable. They tested different types of massage gels to see which one helped their muscles recover faster. They even taught their riders how to wash their hands properly to reduce the risk of getting sick. Individually, these changes were tiny, but collectively, they made a huge difference. Within a few years, the British cycling team went from being an also-ran to a dominant force in the sport. They won multiple Olympic gold medals and Tour de France titles. And it all started with a focus on those small, incremental improvements. So, what can we learn from this? Well, it shows us that even the smallest changes can have a big impact if they're repeated consistently. It also highlights the importance of looking for those hidden opportunities for improvement, the areas where you can gain that 1% edge. And it reminds us that success is not about making huge, overnight transformations, but about building momentum through small, consistent actions. Now, this might all sound great in theory, but how do you actually do it? How do you build these atomic habits and create a system for consistent improvement? That's exactly what we're going to dive into next. We'll look at some practical strategies for identifying those small changes you can make, how to integrate them into your daily routine, and how to track your progress so you can stay motivated and on track. Okay, so we know that these tiny changes, these atomic habits, can either lift us up or slowly drag us down. It's this kind of sneaky effect, right? But here's another fascinating aspect of this whole 1% better idea. It's not just about what you improve, but how you approach the process of improvement itself. I mean, are you actually enjoying the daily habits? Because, let's be honest, if you're forcing yourself to do something you absolutely hate, even if it's a tiny improvement, you're not going to stick with it. It's just not sustainable. Think about it. If you dread going to the gym every single day, even for just 15 minutes, eventually you're going to find an excuse not to go. The resistance becomes too strong. So, a crucial part of this atomic habits philosophy is finding ways to make those small improvements enjoyable, or at least not completely miserable. James Clear talks about making habits attractive. He says that we're more likely to stick with habits that are associated with positive feelings. This can be something as simple as rewarding yourself after completing a task, or pairing a habit you want to develop with something you already enjoy. For example, maybe you want to start reading more. Instead of forcing yourself to read a dense textbook for an hour every night, try reading a fun novel for just 10 minutes while you're enjoying your morning coffee. That way, reading becomes associated with something you already look forward to. Or maybe you want to start meditating regularly. Try pairing it with a cup of herbal tea and some relaxing music. Create a little ritual around it that makes it more appealing. I found this really helpful when I was trying to cut back on my social media use. I knew I was spending way too much time scrolling mindlessly through Instagram, but it was such a habit. So, instead of just trying to quit cold turkey, which never worked, I started replacing that time with something I actually enjoyed. Whenever I felt the urge to reach for my phone, I'd grab a book instead, or go for a short walk. It wasn't always easy, but by focusing on the positive replacement, I was able to gradually break the habit. Now, let's talk about another thing. Don't get caught up in the idea of perfection. Now, one of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to improve is trying to do too much, too soon. They set these ridiculously high expectations for themselves, and then get discouraged when they inevitably fall short. Remember, we're aiming for 1% improvements, not 100% perfection. It's about consistent progress, not instant results. It's about building momentum, one small step at a time. There's an old saying, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Don't wait until you have the perfect plan, the perfect resources, or the perfect conditions to get started. Just start with something small, something manageable, and build from there. Think about learning a new language. You're not going to become fluent overnight, but if you learn just a few new words or phrases every day and practice consistently, you'll be surprised at how much progress you can make over time. Or, think about starting a business. You don't need to have a fully fleshed out business plan before you launch. Start with a simple idea, test it out, and iterate based on the feedback you receive. It's also really crucial to track your progress. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see immediate results, but tracking your progress can help you stay motivated and on track. It allows you to see how far you've come, and to appreciate the compounding effect of those small improvements. You can use a journal, a spreadsheet, or a habit tracking app. The important thing is to find a system that works for you and to use it consistently. Seeing that visual representation of your progress can be incredibly rewarding, and it can help you stay committed to your goals. And if you do happen to miss a day or even a few days, don't beat yourself up about it. Just get back on track as soon as possible. Remember, it's not about perfection, it's about consistency. A missed day doesn't negate all the progress you've made. The British cycling team also employed this. Dave Brailsford believed not only in finding marginal gains that improved performance, but meticulously tracked these small improvements over time. This allowed the team to have quantitative insights into the effectiveness of various adjustments. Finally, remember that this whole process is about becoming a better version of yourself, not about comparing yourself to others. It's easy to get caught up in the comparison game, especially in today's social media-driven world. But remember, everyone's journey is different. Focus on your own progress, celebrate your own successes, and don't let anyone else's achievements diminish your own. So, we've talked about the power of tiny changes, the importance of making habits attractive, the need to focus on progress over perfection, and the value of tracking your results. But how do you actually identify those small changes you can make in your own life? Where do you even start? That's what we'll be tackling in our next segment, where we will dive into some practical strategies for finding those 1% improvements and integrating them into your daily routine. Okay, so we know that these tiny changes, these atomic habits, can either lift us up or slowly drag us down. It's this kind of sneaky effect, right? But here's another fascinating aspect of this whole 1% better idea. It's not just about what you improve, but how you approach the process of improvement itself. I mean, are you actually enjoying the daily habits? Because, let's be honest, if you're forcing yourself to do something you absolutely hate, even if it's a tiny improvement, you're not going to stick with it. It's just not sustainable. Think about it. If you dread going to the gym every single day, even for just 15 minutes, eventually you're going to find an excuse not to go. The resistance becomes too strong. So, a crucial part of this atomic habits philosophy is finding ways to make those small improvements enjoyable, or at least not completely miserable. James Clear talks about making habits attractive. He says that we're more likely to stick with habits that are associated with positive feelings. So this can be something as simple as rewarding yourself after completing a task, or pairing a habit you want to develop with something you already enjoy. For example, maybe you want to start meditating regularly. Try pairing it with a cup of herbal tea and some relaxing music. Create a little ritual around it that makes it more appealing. Another example would be in the workplace. I found this really helpful when I was trying to cut back on my social media use. I knew I was spending way too much time scrolling mindlessly through Instagram, but it was such a habit. So instead of just trying to quit cold turkey, which never worked, I started replacing that time with something I actually enjoyed. Whenever I felt the urge to reach for my phone, I'd grab a book instead, or go for a short walk. It wasn't always easy, but by focusing on the positive replacement, I was able to gradually break the habit. Now, let's talk about another thing. Don't get caught up in the idea of perfection. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to improve is trying to do too much, too soon. They set these ridiculously high expectations for themselves and then get discouraged when they inevitably fall short. Remember, we're aiming for 1% improvements, not 100% perfection. It's about consistent progress, not instant results. It's about building momentum, one small step at a time. There's an old saying, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Don't wait until you have the perfect plan, the perfect resources, or the perfect conditions to get started. Just start with something small, something manageable, and build from there. Think about learning a new language. You're not going to become fluent overnight, but if you learn just a few new words or phrases every day and practice consistently, you'll be surprised at how much progress you can make over time. Or think about starting a business. You don't need to have a fully fleshed out business plan before you launch. Start with a simple idea, test it out, and iterate based on the feedback you receive. It's also really crucial to track your progress. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see immediate results, but tracking your progress can help you stay motivated and on track. It allows you to see how far you've come and to appreciate the compounding effect of those small improvements. You can use a journal, a spreadsheet, or a habit tracking app. The important thing is to find a system that works for you and to use it consistently. Seeing that visual representation of your progress can be incredibly rewarding, and it can help you stay committed to your goals. And if you do happen to miss a day or even a few days, don't beat yourself up about it. Just get back on track as soon as possible. Remember, it's not about perfection, it's about consistency. A missed day doesn't negate all the progress you've made. This reminds me of the aggregation of marginal gains principle which, as we previously discussed, focuses on incremental improvements. But the consistent tracking of those small improvements allows the team to have quantitative insights into the effectiveness of various adjustments. Finally, remember that this whole process is about becoming a better version of yourself, not about comparing yourself to others. It's easy to get caught up in the comparison game, especially in today's social media-driven world. But remember, everyone's journey is different. Focus on your own progress, celebrate your own successes, and don't let anyone else's achievements diminish your own. Let's consider the impact of consistent, small improvements in the realm of personal finances. Think about saving just a few dollars each day. Maybe you skip that daily latte or pack your lunch instead of eating out. These small savings might not seem like much in the moment. However, over time, they can add up to a significant sum that can be used for investments, paying off debt, or achieving other financial goals. This approach aligns with a famous quote, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. which reflects the importance of starting with small actions and building momentum toward larger goals. Contrast this with the alternative. Imagine someone who consistently makes small, seemingly insignificant purchases every day, a candy bar, a new app, or an impulse buy online. These small expenses might not seem like a big deal individually, but over time, they can drain your bank account and prevent you from reaching your financial objectives. I want to reinforce that this journey is all about you and what's realistic and achievable for you. So, we've talked about the power of tiny changes, the importance of making habits attractive, the need to focus on progress over perfection, and the value of tracking your results. But how do you actually identify those small changes you can make in your own life? Where do you even start? That's what we'll be tackling in our next segment, where we will dive into some practical strategies for finding those 1% improvements and integrating them into your daily routine. Okay, let's pivot a little and think about how this applies to something maybe a bit less tangible than cycling or finances, our relationships. You know, just like those little 1% improvements can supercharge our physical health or bank accounts, they can also dramatically strengthen our bonds with others. Think about it. What if you committed to just one small act of kindness or appreciation each day? Maybe it's sending a quick text to a friend just to say you're thinking of them, or writing a short thank you note to a family member. Maybe it's putting away the phone to give someone your full attention when they're talking to you. These seem like tiny gestures, right? It's insignificant. But imagine the cumulative effect of those small, consistent acts of connection over weeks, months, or even years. They build trust, foster deeper understanding, and create a stronger sense of connection. They turn into an incredible relationship portfolio. It's just like that compound interest we were talking about before, except instead of money, you're investing in human connection. I have a friend who started a gratitude jar with her husband. Every night, before bed, they each write down one thing they appreciate about the other person from that day and drop it in the jar. It's a simple habit that takes maybe 2 minutes, but it's created a really beautiful ritual of appreciation and connection in their relationship. Now they read through them on their anniversary. What a great thing to look back on. Now, let's look at the flip side. What happens when we neglect those small, daily interactions? What if we consistently put our phones before our partners, or forget to say thank you, or let small annoyances fester into bigger resentments? These small neglects, just like those sugary drinks, can erode the foundation of a relationship over time. It's like a slow leak in a tire. You might not notice it at first, but eventually the tire goes flat. Similarly, those small negative habits can slowly drain the connection and intimacy from a relationship, leading to distance, conflict, and even separation. It's a subtle but powerful force. This is why it's so important to be mindful of the small interactions we have with the people we care about. Because those small interactions, repeated over time, are what ultimately shape the quality of our relationships. It's about recognizing that every interaction is an opportunity to either build connection or create distance. Thinking about building that connection with people, I want to ask you something. When are you at your best? Building that kind of awareness and doing this kind of analysis is a cornerstone of becoming better. And like the British cycling team, there's value in keeping track. I'm sure many of you have seen a productivity app here or there, or have even used one. I want to mention that I use a habit tracker app every day, which helps me with planning, but most importantly with reflection on performance. This really helps to identify where time is being spent and what areas are lacking. This can be as easy as a spreadsheet or simply a section in your day planner. It really boils down to what you want and what you think will keep you motivated. I want to reinforce that this journey is all about you and what's realistic and achievable for you. Don't compare your progress to anyone else's. Everyone starts from a different place with different circumstances and different goals. Focus on your own journey, celebrate your own successes, and be kind to yourself when you stumble. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. And, as James Clear said, success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. So, we've explored the power of tiny changes in our relationships, the importance of being mindful of our daily interactions, and the need to focus on our own progress. We've seen how those small, consistent actions can compound over time to create remarkable results. Now, how can you start applying these principles to your own life starting today? We need a system. That brings us to the next critical piece of this whole puzzle: how to actually create a system for identifying and implementing those small, impactful changes. That's what we're going to explore next. I'm going to give you some really practical tools and techniques you can use to start building those atomic habits and unlocking your own potential for exponential growth. Ready to get started? Okay, let's pivot a little and think about how this applies to something maybe a bit less tangible than cycling or finances: our relationships. You know, just like those little 1% improvements can supercharge our physical health or bank accounts, they can also dramatically strengthen our bonds with others. Think about it. What if you committed to just one small act of kindness or appreciation each day? Maybe it's sending a quick text to a friend just to say you're thinking of them, or writing a short thank you note to a family member. Maybe it's putting away the phone to give someone your full attention when they're talking to you. These seem like tiny gestures, right? Almost insignificant. But imagine the cumulative effect of those small, consistent acts of connection over weeks, months, or even years. They build trust, foster deeper understanding, and create a stronger sense of connection. They turn into an incredible relationship portfolio. It's just like that compound interest we were talking about before, except instead of money, you're investing in human connection. I have a friend who started a gratitude jar with her husband. Every night before bed, they each write down one thing they appreciate about the other person from that day and drop it in the jar. It's a simple habit that takes maybe 2 minutes, but it's created a really beautiful ritual of appreciation and connection in their relationship. Now, they read through them on their anniversary. What a great thing to look back on. Now, let's look at the flip side. What happens when we neglect those small daily interactions? What if we consistently put our phones before our partners, or forget to say thank you, or let small annoyances fester into bigger resentments? These small neglects, just like those sugary drinks, can erode the foundation of a relationship over time. It's like a slow leak in a tire. You might not notice it at first, but eventually, the tire goes flat. Similarly, those small negative habits can slowly drain the connection and intimacy from a relationship, leading to distance, conflict, and even separation. It's a subtle but powerful force. This is why it's so important to be mindful of the small interactions we have with the people we care about, because those small interactions, repeated over time, are what ultimately shape the quality of our relationships. It's about recognizing that every interaction is an opportunity to either build connection or create distance. Thinking about building that connection with people, I want to ask you something. When are you at your best? Building that kind of awareness and doing this kind of analysis is a cornerstone of becoming better. And, like the British cycling team, there's value in keeping track. I'm sure many of you have seen a productivity app here or there, or have even used one. I want to mention that I use a habit tracker app every day, which helps me with planning, but most importantly with reflection on performance. This really helps to identify where time is being spent and what areas are lacking. This can be as easy as a spreadsheet, or simply a section in your day planner. It really boils down to what you want and what you think will keep you motivated. I want to reinforce that this journey is all about you, and what's realistic and achievable for you. Don't compare your progress to anyone else's. Everyone starts from a different place, with different circumstances and different goals. Focus on your own journey, celebrate your own successes, and be kind to yourself when you stumble. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. And, as James Clear said, success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. Let's consider the impact of consistent, small improvements on your mindset. How many times have you found yourself overwhelmed by a large project, only to procrastinate because it seems too daunting? Now imagine breaking it down into tiny, manageable steps that contribute to success. It's a great way to reach the finish line. What would this actually look like? Say you need to reorganize the garage. Instead of thinking about the entire garage and the work ahead, you could simply commit to clearing one shelf in the next 15 minutes. This approach aligns with a famous quote: "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step," which reflects the importance of starting with small actions and building momentum toward larger goals. Or consider trying to get on stage to speak. Instead of thinking about the entire hour, focus on rehearsing just the first 30 seconds. Here's a great way to keep yourself honest. Find a way to be held accountable. Tell someone about these small improvements and invite them to check in every couple of days to see how you're doing. It's a great way to stay on track and feel like you're not going it alone. Here's another fascinating application of the 1% better principle: continuous learning and skill development. Think about learning a new instrument. It's incredibly daunting to imagine mastering the instrument all at once. But what if you committed to learning just one new chord or practicing one simple scale each day? Over time, those small daily efforts would compound into significant musical ability. The key is consistency and focusing on steady progress rather than striving for instant mastery. Set realistic expectations and be patient with yourself. Learning takes time, and progress may not always be linear. But if you keep showing up and putting in the work, you'll eventually reach your goals. I want to reinforce that this journey is all about you and what's realistic and achievable for you. Don't compare your progress to anyone else's. Everyone starts from a different place, with different circumstances and different goals. Focus on your own journey, celebrate your own successes, and be kind to yourself when you stumble. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. So, we've explored the power of tiny changes in our relationships, the importance of being mindful of our daily interactions, and the need to focus on our own progress. We've seen how those small, consistent actions can compound over time to create remarkable results. Now, how can you start applying these principles to your own life, starting today? We need a system. That brings us to the next critical piece of this whole puzzle: how to actually create a system for identifying and implementing those small, impactful changes. That's what we're going to explore next. I'm going to give you some really practical tools and techniques you can use to start building those atomic habits and unlocking your own potential for exponential growth. Ready to get started? Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, right? From the British cycling team to decluttering your garage, it might seem like a random assortment of topics, but hopefully, you're starting to see the thread connecting it all. For me, the biggest takeaway is really twofold. First, these tiny habits, they might seem insignificant in the moment, but they're actually laying the groundwork for something much bigger. Remember that plateau of latent potential we talked about? You're probably closer to a breakthrough than you think. Don't give up just because you don't see results immediately. And secondly, I think it's so important to remember that this is about progress, not perfection. We are not competing with anyone else. It's about becoming a better version of yourself in your own way. That gratitude jar, a 15-minute writing sprint, cutting back on mindless scrolling for just 10 minutes a day, those little wins add up. So, what now? I really want you to pick one thing we talked about today, just one tiny habit, and try to implement it this week. Track it. Notice how it makes you feel. Even better, tell a friend. Accountability, share your progress. Ultimately, it comes down to this. Real, lasting change isn't about overnight transformations. It's about creating a sustainable, positive feedback loop, and doing so, it's about getting 1% better each day. And it is worth the time and effort. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey of small habits and big transformations. Remember to focus on the daily grind and the daily choices you make. Every small improvement will help you reach your full potential. Until next time, keep focusing on those 1% edges. I will see you on our next episode. Thanks for listening. I'm KC. See you next time.